Is it still livable here in Colombia with the influx of all these Venezuelan refugees? Welcome to How to Expat. My name is Sam, and at How to Expat we help expats relocate. In this video I want to touch a subject that we often get from our clients and here in the comment section, which is how bad is the political situation in Colombia in regards to the refugee crisis in Venezuela. And of course, the mainstream media projects Venezuela a little bit like this.
We're following developments on the escalating refugee crisis in Venezuela, and Colombia's president believes more than 600,000 Venezuelans are now in his country. Venezuela's neighboring South American countries are struggling to keep up with the massive flow.
And then the picture we get, or at least I get that, is that, yeah, you're in a country and you think it looks a little bit like this.
It is crowded and chaotic. Tonight, thousands of migrants, mostly from Honduras, are stopped at the Guatemala-Mexico border.
So at the end of the day, you're kind of scared for the people that the Venezuelans are fleeing to, and you think, yeah, that should be a big chaos there and a lot of violence, because these Venezuelans, how they're portrayed by the mainstream media, are all poor people and they gonna bring crime and they're hungry and whatnot. But at the end of the day, it's kind of a little bit like with the FARC video I did a couple of months ago. Yeah, what the mainstream media portrays in the first world, in the developed countries, is not really actually what happens here in the developing world. Of course, it makes a great news story. If you can say, yeah, it's a horrible thing, and don't get me wrong, it's horrible. We talk with many Venezuelans. I have Venezuelan friends. We talk with a German person that still lives in Venezuela to this day. It's a horrible situation in Venezuela itself. But they're not poor people that have no idea, no education, and come here just for crime and robbing people. I have a lot of Venezuelan friends. They go here to school, they integrate to the Colombian culture, because the big difference between the refugee crisis in Europe and the refugee crisis here in Venezuela in comparison or in regards to Colombia is that they speak the same language, have a very similar culture, and yeah, they were once one country. Whereas in Europe, they're Africans with another skin tone, they speak a totally different language and have a totally different religion. So in Europe, and I'm from Europe, I know that quite well, the situation with the refugees in Europe is way different than here in Venezuela and Colombia. So what actually happens here, yes, the border towns are a little bit chaotic, but they're always chaotic even on the southern border of the US. That's just the nature of borders. So the border regions, yeah, they have suffered some things. There's a great documentary by Vox Borders, I think it's called. The link is in the description down below, where they kind of document what actually is going on there. But for you, what's most probably going to interest you is how is the life for an expat here in the Colombian cities or in the Colombian outskirts. In the Colombian outskirts. If the Venezuelan refugee crisis is so bad, and it's really not that bad. Let me tell you, the political situation, of course, it's a big topic always, but for example, here in Medellin, they're way more occupied in the political situation with the student protests they have because they cut on education funds, than kind of having issues with the Venezuelans. How Colombians look at the Venezuelans, yeah, you have these two camps and a lot of middle ground, like it usually is. You have, of course, the people that say, yeah, they're kind of criminals, you have to watch out. And on the other hand, you have people welcoming them in because they accept kind of the hard situation they're going through in their own home country. And as I said, a big middle ground. So you will see a lot of Venezuelans here working, integrating themselves, being in a relationship, whereas on the other side, you see a lot of Venezuelans begging on the street. But at the end of the day, I think as long as I've lived here and saw that actually the people, let's say my neighborhood that I live in, the people that I'm kind of weary and yeah, not scared, but kind of go other ways are Colombians. Not all the Colombians, just a little group of Colombians, of young guys that do drugs and drink stuff, drink a little bit too much. So yeah, I really have to say the Venezuelan crisis here in Colombia is for an expat kind of a non-issue. Don't get me wrong, it's a horrible situation what actually happens in Venezuela itself. But yeah, that's pretty much my take on it. So if you're worried about the Venezuelan and political stability and the crisis and the refugees and everything like that, take it easy. It's not too big of a deal in your actually day-to-day life. So yeah, that was pretty much it. Don't forget, if you have specific questions for us, we offer a Skype consultation. The link for that is in the description down below. So hope to see you in the next video.